Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. On today's video, I'm going to take an E3 Meat Company brisket and I'm going to be smoking it Texas style. And once it's smoked, I'm going to rest it in a bath of beef tallow, and I cannot wait to share this cook with you guys. Stay tuned. All right, let's get the rub prepared for this brisket cook. I'm starting with 1 cup of black pepper. This is a coarse black pepper. I'm using half a cup of kosher salt and 2 teaspoons of granulated garlic. That's it, SPG. Give this a good mix. All right, so I'm just going to pour this into a shaker. Today's video is sponsored by E3 Meat Company. I do want to thank them for supplying this 10.5-pound gorgeous looking brisket. If you guys have never heard of E3 Meat Company, check out their story. I'm going to be leaving a link to their website down below, so check them out. I also want to mention that 10% of all net profits do go to the E3 Ranch Foundation. And what the E3 Ranch Foundation does is it helps our veterans and active military as well. So as you can see, the butchers at E3 Meat Company do a really nice job of pre-trimming the brisket. In fact, I'm just going to trim a little bit of this decal, remove some of this fat off the top and maybe some of that silver skin. Some of this fat right here, beautiful marbling. Let's take a look at that fat. Okay, so this looks really nice. I might trim this fat cap down a little bit and then bring this down just a tad bit to make it more aerodynamic. So I'm going to start here on the top and just remove some of this fat, if not all of it. I am using my Dow Strong fillet knife, which makes it really nice and easy. Look at that. Gorgeous looking brisket. All right, so I'm just going to remove some of this silver skin off the top of the brisket. This fillet knife makes it really nice and easy to remove silver skin. All right, so I'm just going to take off a little bit of this fat. Again, the butchers at E3 Meat Company did a really nice job of pre-trimming this brisket. All right, so earlier I said that I'm going to flatten this out, and you really have 2 options. You can come in here and really flatten this out, okay, by taking this point meat off and obviously save that for sausage. Or you can take some of this fat off from right here, and that's what I'm going to do. So just take off a little bit of this fat. I'll show you this process right here. And what you want to do is take out a wedge of this fat, okay, just like this. See this wedge right here? It's nothing but fat. And what that's going to do is it's really going to force this brisket right here to lay flat. Okay, so I can take a little bit more off. Just to make it lay flatter. See that? So now you have this void right here and you can press this down. Okay. All right, so that's looking pretty good right there. The only thing that I'm going to do is just remove some of this thin meat right here. I'm just going to come in here and round this off just a little bit more, just so that this doesn't burn off. And I am going to be saving the trimmings for sausage, okay? So just in case you guys are wondering. So just kind of draw it out and round it just like that, okay? And go ahead and take it off. All right, so the trimming is done. It's time to season our brisket. I'm gonna add a light coating of mustard as a binder. Make sure you get your edges as well. A little bit of mustard on the fat cap. All right, I'm going to add a good layer of my SPG. Pat that rub down, and don't forget about your edges. All right, let's season up our fat cap. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be smoking this fat cap up. I've got my Yoder Frontiersman running at 250 degrees. We'll see you guys outside. All right, so I've got my Yoder Frontiersman running at 250 degrees. I'm going to be smoking this on the left side, top shelf. And here's this gorgeous looking brisket. The point is pointing towards that firebox. Just like that. I'm going to slide that shelf in. I'll bring you guys back as soon as we have a really nice bark formation. Stay tuned. All right, so 4.5 hours into our cook. Let's take a look at our brisket. All right, that bark is looking really nice. I'm starting to puddle up right there. So I'm just gonna lift the brisket up and drain that fat. I haven't spritzed or anything, but I can tell you that the bark is nice and set, so we're gonna go ahead and spritz a little bit. So I'm gonna be watching that spot right there, just so that we don't get a bald spot on our brisket. So I'm gonna spritz with apple cider vinegar and water. Again, 4.5 hours in, and that bark is looking really nice. Remember, we started with about a 10.5 pound brisket, and after I trimmed it, we're probably down to about 10 pounds. And once it's done, we'll have about a 5 or a 6 pound brisket, which is perfect. All right, so that bark is looking really good, but I do want to get a little bit darker color, so I'm going to give it a couple more hours. I'll bring you guys back in a bit. Stay tuned. All right, so the total cook time has been 6.5 hours, and our brisket is ready to be wrapped. So I've got some butcher paper here, and I'm just using some of the spritz on the paper just to make it a little bit more pliable, just like that. And here's our brisket. Beautiful looking bark. Remember, we only started with a 10 pound brisket, so this one's a little bit small. It's a little bit more spritz on the brisket itself. Real simple wrap. Okay, I've got the fat cap up. Just turn your brisket, fat cap is down. Push it real nice and tight. Fat cap is up. And remember, you want this excess butcher paper to protect that precious meat on the bottom, so just fold that and tuck it underneath your brisket. Just like that. So this is going back in the smoker until it's really nice and tender. I'll let you guys know what the final temp is. Stay tuned. All right, so the brisket is ready, and the total cook time was 8 hours and 15 minutes. So let's take it out of the butcher paper and see what we've got. Oh yeah, looking really nice. Check that baby out. Got a little bald spot right there where the water was collecting, but other than that, it's looking really nice. So I'm just gonna lift it off the butcher paper, and it has been resting on my counter for 1 hour, and the internal temperature of this brisket is 160 degrees. All right, so I've got this really deep aluminum pan, and I'm just gonna put the brisket in there, just like that. So I warmed up my beef tallow to 160 degrees as well. So I'm just gonna pour that in the pan and cover up the brisket entirely. Now the French have this technique called confit, okay? And you guys may have heard of duck confit, but here in Texas, I guess we're gonna start this trend of brisket confit. So I think I need a little bit more beef tallow. We'll see how much we get in there. Yeah. Let me go grab some more beef tallow, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I've got some more warmed up beef tallow. Let's go ahead and cover this brisket. All right, so I'm gonna cover this up with foil. I'm gonna place it in my PK100 smoker that's running at 155 degrees, and I'm gonna hold it at that temperature for 10 hours. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna take it out of the beef tallow, and we're either gonna have some amazing brisket or some delicious pulled beef sandwiches. Stay tuned. All right, so it's the very next day, and our brisket has been sitting in the beef tallow for 10 hours. I just pulled it off my PK100 smoker. Let's take a look. And hopefully it's not shredded. Oh, it held together. And the beef tallow has a really nice yellow color. So let's pull this baby out of here. Oh man, it is extremely tender. Look at this. Oh, it smells so good. You know, we did lose some of the seasoning that's sitting inside the tallow, but for the most part, this brisket held together nicely. Okay, let me put this on my cutting board. All right, let's slice into our confit brisket and see how we did. But look at this, really nice and jiggly. That's exactly what you want. And I am surprised that the bark held up inside the beef tallow. So I'm just gonna take a couple of slices here first, and it's probably gonna be super tender. And yes, it is. It is slicing like butter. Look at that. Look at that nice color. Extremely tender and so juicy. Get a couple more slices here. The aroma that's coming from this brisket is absolutely amazing. Look at that. Super tender and super juicy. Let's cut the point in half. Check that out. It is just super tender. It's wanting to fold over my hand. Look at that baby right there. Does that look good or what? All right, I'm gonna take a couple of pictures and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, I'm gonna take a slice from this point right here. And you always wanna slice your point a little bit thicker. Look at how tender this is. This is ridiculous. It's like slicing Jello. That is extremely tender, and I cannot wait to get a bite. Let's give it a taste. All right, let's give this flat a try first. But look at that bark, super juicy, super tender. It's like butter. Man, I can't wait to give this a taste. There we go. Absolutely flavorful. Right, now let's try that point. Look at that nice, juicy, burnt end. Here we go. So I smoked a ton of briskets before, and my all-time favorite was a brisket that I just added salt to. That was extremely delicious, but this one right here takes the cake. So juicy, so full of flavor. I would have never known that a confit brisket would be this good. This is absolutely delicious. So it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna wake up the family and we're gonna have some delicious brisket and eggs for breakfast. I hope you guys enjoyed this brisket video. Don't forget to check out E3 Meat Company, and I'm also gonna be leaving links on where you can purchase that beef tallow. If this is your first time to my channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Until next time, Joe with Smokin Joe Spit Barbecue. See ya.